Dice Tower Tonight, episode 98.
I haven't seen you in forever.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, what happens when we pull out a game we haven't played in a long time? What's the best way to discreetly check the rulebooks so your fellow players don't know you don't remember how to play anymore? Also, we revisit a game where the chat and I go head-to-head. We run through some titles we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Monica to my Ross, it's Crystal Dax.
I mean, this is a reference that I definitely get. I don't think I'm a Monica though, because I'm like the opposite of neat.
Yeah,
and Monica,
you're probably more of a Phoebe, I think.
I think I'm definitely more of a Phoebe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's of the three ladies, I would say I'm definitely a Phoebe. And I think you're, not to diss Ross, but I think you're better than Ross as well. Like, Ross was kind of a jerk. They're all jerks, for the record, though.
Yes.
Like, I love Friends, and I'll rewatch it in the background because it's good. Like, I don't have to pay attention TV, but they're all jerks.
Yeah, they are. I mean, just rewatching the show. My wife and I watched the reunion, and then we're like, you know what? We enjoyed this show. Let's go back and watch it. And while there is plenty of funny moments in that program, it's pretty dated in many ways. And there are a few cringeworthy moments. You're like, oh. Okay.
Yep.
We're just going to let that go, I guess. But still, we have been enjoying our rewatch, our revisiting of Friends, as it were. And that is our topic for today. We're going to talk about returning to a game that you haven't played in a while. Both one that you're excited about doing so, and one that you maybe have shied away from over those intervening years. So that'll be fun to get to. But first, Crystal, I want an injury update. You hurt yourself quite publicly recently, and I want to know how are you and how goes the recovery?
So, yes, for those of you who were not here for our last episode, I had very recently broken one of my toes, and then I posted a video. Nothing gross, nothing weird, nothing like scary, but I happened to be filming a video for a board game project, and I was walking around the table, and so in the video you hear the big thunk, and then you hear me giving myself a pep talk. It's really funny. It's on my Twitter from a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, I tweet a lot, so it's probably hard to scroll back and find, but needless to say, my broken toe is healing nicely. I was really lucky that my boss let me work from home for the 2 day. Like, I broke it on a Saturday, and then I got to work from home on Monday and Tuesday. And just those 3 days of staying off it, I think really helped a lot. And so, yeah, it has been getting consistently better. It's still a little bit, I think a teeny bit purple at this point, but not bad at all. And I'm able to walk basically normally as long as I'm wearing like good supportive shoes at this point. So
did you not have to wear the crazy clog shoe?
Yeah, no. Thankfully, I did not. I was basically, this is the third time in my life that I've broken a toe, so I'm kind of used to it at this point. Although the first 2 times were in middle school and high school. There's funny stories with both of those, but we don't have time for that. But needless to say, I know how to tape a toe to another toe and wear the right socks and shoes to like make it okay. And I only limped around for like a week and a half, and now I can walk pretty much normally.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. I did have to wear the funny shoe back way some years ago when I broke my toe, and I told you that there's a story involved. I was taking karate at the time and was learning about control. When you throw a kick, you want to picture where your foot is going to stop. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So somebody might think that I was going to kick them, but I was actually going to stop my foot right next to them instead of kicking them, which is something that, someone might want to do to their sister. So my sister was there, and I was getting ready to kick, and I was like, watch this. This will be really cool. And I went to kick to exactly the spot right before it got to her. Problem is, there was a couch right there. So I was full power aiming for there, but the couch was down there, and I collided with the couch. So I never actually kicked my sister, but I was trying to, and I hit the couch instead.
Ah.
And that's how I hurt myself. And some might call it karma, but I was never intending to hit the sister. So
I mean, the first 2 times I broke a toe, both of them, I stubbed them on a vacuum cleaner.
was the vacuum cleaner moving at the time?
Nope. Stationary, me just walking in a room and stubbing it on a vacuum cleaner. And another fun fact, one of the most serious injuries to my hand that I've ever had wasn't a broken bone, but was also vacuum cleaner related. I think vacuum cleaners have it out for me for some reason, and I don't quite know why that is. But like, I have a permanent scar on one of my fingers from an injury from a vacuum cleaner.
Wow. You know what? We should probably get away from injuries and start talking about some games we've played recently. Crystal, why don't you go first? What have you been up to?
All right, awesome. So, you all have seen me talk about a couple different games from Pandasaurus Games lately, and that's because I ordered a whole bunch from them when they were on sale. And there's another one that I'd played it a few weeks ago, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it, but I think it deserves a little bit of attention for me, just because I've played it more and I'm really enjoying it. And it's not a new release from Pandasaurus, but it is Pastally. This is a 2 to 3 player abstract game from Pandasaurus that I'm liking a lot more. I didn't think I was going to dislike it, but I'm enjoying it even more than I thought I would. So in Pastally, you have either 2 or 3 players, and you have stacks of tiles that look kind of like, I'm going to try and make sure I grab a few different colors if I can. Well, I got a few. They are these, first off, I have to say, they are thick, chunky tiles. I love these tiles. They feel so good. Like, they feel substantial. I like them. But yeah, they all have these little white lines on them, these little paths. And what you will do with these tiles is you are placing them onto a board, which, let's see here. If I tilt this down, I bet I can make this work. I think we can do this. So, the tiles have to line up with the white lines that are on the board. And what's neat about it is eventually you start stacking the tiles on top of one another. So you can place wherever you want, but when you place on top, the paths will change, and so will the scoring. So each player has tokens that go around the outside of the board, and on your turn, you have a couple of different things you can do. You can either move those tokens a certain amount, or you can place tiles. And then at the end of your turn, you will draw paths from your tokens to the other tokens that you have. And based on how many tiles the line passes through, you tally how many passes you have, and then that is, and then you determine your score. And the paths score differently depending on what level of the stack the tile is on. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a little bigger now. I just saw it switch over on YouTube. So, it's hard to show completely how this works without spilling everything, but basically, if a path is on the ground floor, it's worth a single point when your line passes through it. But if it's on the next level, it'll be 2 points, one above that, 3, et cetera, et cetera. But your opponents have pieces on the board too. So every time you're placing a tile, you're not only potentially affecting the lines that your pieces go with, but the lines that the other players have as well. So you're trying to stack things up to make the paths advantageous for yourself while also theoretically screwing up what your opponent is doing. Because if you don't mess with their stuff between turns, they're just going to keep scoring whatever they already have. So there's an interesting dance there between, like, do I move my token? Do I add a tile? Do I not? And then the scoring is nice and big on this little scoreboard here. And based on the number of passes you have, and again, like, what a level it is will determine what the point value is. Based on the number of passes your lines have, you will get victory points. Generally, you play to 50 victory points, or until, like, I think 1 or 2 of the stacks of tiles run out, and that's it. So it's definitely simple as far as, like, mechanics go. It is just an abstract game, but it is fascinating how broken your brain tends to get when you're kind of trying to suss out where to put these little tiles. And there's different colors. Oh yeah, I got a couple more. There's like a green and a yellow. And what my brain tends to do when I'm playing this is like I'll try and flip the tile the other direction, even though it's technically exactly the same. But my brain keeps thinking if I turn it, it'll do something differently for whatever reason. Yeah, like if you can find that one way to like put a tile down that both helps you and screws up your opponent, it's great. I will say this is a brain burner for sure. This is one that if you play with somebody who is prone to AP, analysis paralysis, this can be difficult because there are a lot of options for what you can do. And so that can make things a little bit more difficult. And the player count, as I said before, goes either 2 or 3. I have only played it with 2. And I don't know if I want to play it with 3 because I feel like there would be a lot going on this board. But now I'm like kind of curious because I'm enjoying it so much at 2. I think 3 will probably not be where I want to live, but I kind of want to try it at some point. Yep. So yeah, I feel like it's worth talking about. It's a fun little abstract game, and especially if you like playing games 2-player, I think this is a decent one to add to a collection if you like abstract stuff. So yeah, that's Past Tally from Pandasaurus.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I agree. It's definitely a brain burner, but it is kind of cool to picture those connections and the way that you connect on the outside. You've got your little scoring markers, and you're trying to make connections between your markers on the sides of the board, and you can spend your actions to not only lay out tiles but also move your pieces around to get them into place. And that, do you set up for your next move by moving your piece around? Do you, just try and mess with your opponents if you can't score something yourself? It's cool, and those choices are neat. Although this does have one of the most useless inserts, the prettiest, but yet most useless insert that I have seen. Do you have it still set up that way?
Yeah, yep. I still have it in the insert. Yeah, these tiles like sit diagonally. Like
they're all splayed out, and it's gorgeous. It looks lovely, but you mix them all up before you start the game. They all get shuffled and put into piles at the beginning.
Yeah, which is why I just tossed them in here and didn't actually fix them when I put them back just now, because I was like, ugh, it's annoying. It's not the worst in my mind. Castell was still the worst insert of all time in my mind, but this is similar in that it has places for things that should not have a place.
Yeah. I think, because I believe this was punched. This game is pre-punched. You don't have to punch this yourself. Is that right? Does it open up and...
I think so. Yeah, I think it's already all in there.
Maybe I think that, and they've got them sorted by color too. So it was like this. It looks like you're opening up a box of chocolates. Like, oh, look at this. Look at all these colors. And it actually doesn't need to be sorted in that way at all. And it's also, if you took away all of that air, it would fit into a box maybe half the size.
Oh, easily. Although there's a lot of blank space underneath this insert, so.
Still, it's a lovely abstract.
Yeah. This would be a good game to take the insert out and put other games in this box with this game to travel with, theoretically. I don't do that as much anymore now that I have a quiver and a bolt. But in the past, I've been known to do that. Although, fun fact, when I do that, I sometimes forget what games I've combined, and then I will lose a game. And I'll find its box, but I'm like, okay, I know I put this in one of the other games, but which one? And when I moved in the fall, I found a couple of games that I had been missing for like a while, and I was like, yay! I was so excited.
You need to put a note in the old box that says, search in this location for this
one. That's smart. Why would I not have thought to do that? I'm doing that going forward if I ever do this again.
Well, I have a small box game to talk about. That is one of the games that showed up on a lot of people's best of lists from last year, from 2020, and that is Fort. This is a game by Grant Rodiak, and it has art by Kyle Farron. I want to say that that's the same art designer for Root, but I'm not sure. It certainly looks like...
It does look a lot like it.
Yeah. It is Leader Games, which is another reason why I would assume that, but I don't have that in front of me, so I can't totally confirm it. But anyway,
I will pull it up for you and take a look.
Fort is a card game where you are playing as children, and you are trying to do kid things and build the best fort possible and play with as many friends as you can. You have a player board that represents you. That's like, hey, I'm right there. That's me. You've got a little fort level on the bottom that you're trying to upgrade. You're spending resources. Your stuff is toys and pizza. You're collecting those resources. You can spend them to upgrade your fort. And in fact, getting to level 5 on a fort is one of the ways the game can end. It's worth a lot of points to do so.
The artist is Kyle Farron, just to confirm.
For Root as well.
Yep.
Very cool. You can tell it's got that sort of cartoony, childish, cartoony look to it. So you've got on the back of your player board, it lists your 2 best friends. So 2 of the cards that you're going to start with in your deck are your 2 best friends listed on the back of your player mat. They have little stars next to them. You can never lose your best friends. They're your best friends. At least they can never be stolen from you. You'll also draw a number of these other cards from the master deck, the friendship deck, and they have all sorts of other effects on them. And all the cards have not only a suit in the upper corner, but it also has 1 or 2 abilities, one of which belongs to just you. You're the only one, I think that's the lower one. You're the only one that can do this ability. But everybody could do this ability if they pay a card that matches the suit that you played. So a lot of these also have some, like this one says you get toys based on the number of glue symbols you play. So not only can I get a bonus for playing this glue symbol, but I can play more cards from my hand that have the glue symbol and get a more powerful effect for doing it. So I do my thing. Everybody else may follow if they would like to, if there's an ability that lets them do that. But then, once I have played my 1 card, boosted it if I want, and everybody else has followed, anything I didn't use... anything I didn't use goes into the yard in front of me. And those are now up for grabs. They do not get to go into my discard pile until the beginning of my next turn. And at the end of everybody's turn, they get to recruit a new friend. So either from the display in the center of the table or from somebody else's yard. So if you didn't play with a friend, they might get drawn to somebody else's house. And so you might have this creates some very interesting decisions. Because you might have a really cool combo in your hand, but the 5th card in your hand is the one that's going to earn you points, and you can't let that go out for somebody to just grab. I can't let that one go. So you have to hope that somebody plays something you can latch onto and follow and use that card to do that this turn. But if they don't, you have a really tough decision. You can either do a really powerful move and possibly give up your power card, or you do a lesser move using your power card to keep it safe. And that's really tricky. And it's not really a deck building game because you're constantly churning. You're constantly losing cards in your deck as well. It's more of a deck management game as you try and tweak things and come up with combinations that are going to earn you points and get the resources that you need more effectively. But while it's a little similar to a deck builder, it has other like deck protection aspects to it, and you're stealing cards from your opponents and all sorts of cool things. I really like this game. It has enough of a twist that it feels novel. It feels interesting and challenging, and I'm looking forward to exploring more of Fort. It's a lot of fun. Have you had a chance to play this one?
So I haven't. It's funny, though, because I had heard people talking about this game for years in its previous iteration, which I think was called SPQF. I know it's 4 letters, and it like with no clear meaning. And I believe it was self-published. I don't think it was ever formally published. And then when it got picked up, and the thing that's most fascinating to me, having not played it, is everyone including you that I've heard describe it, mentions the theme and how it comes through so strongly. And I don't think it had that theme before. I could be misspeaking. I'm not 100% certain here, but I believe it did not have that theme originally. And so the fact that they were able to take this game and interweave it, like people like to say that themes are pasted on. This, I think, assuming that my facts are correct, which I'm sure someone in the chat might be able to correct me on if I'm not, but I think this is a really good example of sometimes the mechanics can come first and then the theme can be put on, but it's not necessarily pasted on. Like, you can really integrate a theme into a game well if you do it right, or if you just find that magic thing.
I think the
SPQF.
Yep, that's
okay,
it.
I had the letters right. I don't know how I remembered that.
The theme also comes through in these bonus cards that you earn. As you upgrade your fort, you're going to get these, they call them made-up rule cards. So, like, there's a piggy bank card, and there's a sleepover card, there's a slime lab. So those really bring out the theme. You can also get a perk that's going to give you some sort of bonus during the course of the game. I think the made-up rules are endgame scoring. So as you build your fort, you're going to gain some extra powers and stuff, and that brings the theme through. But the illustrations are really a huge boon here, because I think every one of these cards is a different, or at least all the different names are different illustrations. And there's Lefty and Moose, who barely fits on the card.
Aww.
They're adorable. They're really, really cute. So yes, I highly recommend Fort. It's a lot of fun.
It is definitely on my want to play list for sure.
So we were, it's time to play a game, I think. We were talking about maybe revisiting something that we had played in the past and bringing something back. I thought about going way back to some like early stuff that we had played, but I kind of wanted to pull out something that was maybe only a couple of months away. So we're going to play a word game. We played a word game 2 weeks ago, but we're going to go back to the classic. We're going to play some Password.
Woohoo!
And when we play Password here on Dice Tower tonight, we play with me against the chat. So in Password, this is much like other word games where we are giving one-word clues to try and get Crystal, in this case, to guess the password. I've got this red lens technology, these cards. I picked out a bunch so that I can't look at them to begin with and cheat my way into victory. But I'm going to slip them in the little red lens technology decoder, and I will tell chat what the password is, and then we're going to take turns giving clues, one-word clues, to Crystal. If Crystal guesses on the first clue, it's worth 10 points, then 9 points, 8, 7, 6, and so on. We'll go through, I'm planning 6 words. We could always bail if things are going too long. And we'll take turns as to who gets to go first. Now, as far as the chat, let's say we're going to go with the 6th entry. Every time I ask for a new clue, I will take the 6th response that I see. Chat, as you enter in clues, please do so with all caps so that it's easy for me to spot what word you're giving. And am I missing anything? I'm not sure I am.
Think so.
I don't think so. The only thing we have to figure out is, first, Crystal, which of these cards are we going to use? So, are we going to use 22A, 22B, 27A, or 27B?
27B.
27B, and are we going to use the side with the star or without the star?
With the star.
With the star. 27B with the star. And would you like chat to go first or second?
Ooh, I want chat to go first.
Chat is going to go first.
Oh, and we did not mention, we usually mention this, chat, the order in which you see the responses come in may be different than what Eric sees, because sometimes the way YouTube works, it's not identical timing-wise. So just know that Eric will be picking the 6th response in the list from the all caps guesses, or clues, but it may not be the 6th one that you see. So just be aware of that. He's not cherry picking.
All right.
Although sometimes we wish we could. Like, we set these own rules for ourselves, and like sometimes it's tough.
Crystal, have you hidden the chat?
I have hidden the chat. I have video up, which I think is fine, right? Or do I need to hide you as well?
Video should be fine. So I'm just entering this into the chat. The password is... And I will go with the 6th clue that I receive from this point forward. And I guess I need to think about what my 2nd clue is going to be, because that's always the key. Now, thank you, Gator Dave, has made a nice line to separate in the chat when we've begun the next round. Chat is always really good about playing, keeping things nice and clean. All right,
and I will admit, it warmed my heart seeing as we were spinning the game up here, a whole bunch of people in the chat were like, "Yay, game time!" And that like makes me so happy that you all enjoy these games as much as Eric and I do.
I've got 4. I've got 5. I've got 6. All right, the 6th word, your first clue is toes.
It has to be a single word, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I will say foot.
I'm going to give it to you. It's feet.
Oh, okay.
So,
hey,
yes.
Good job, chat.
Well done, chat. I guess I could be really picky and be like, no, and then I'd be like, multiple? But no. Chat gets 10
Although
points.
it is ironic that the first clue chat gives the girl with the broken toe is toes.
I was waiting for broken. All right. All right. Interesting. All right. Round 2. The password is...
So Eric will be giving a clue first, chat, but you all can go ahead and put words in the chat if you want, but just know that like whatever Eric says may influence what you want to say. So
But chat, you could start giving clues now, I think, if you want. But I will give okay. Chooser?
Chooser. Referee?
Nope. Someone said the first clue that chat said was chooser.
Okay.
So I got 2, 3, 4, 5. Your clue is panhandle.
Wait, what? Chooser and panhandle. So we're talking like Florida? But chooser. Boss.
No.
Okay.
Bum.
Chooser. Panhandle. Bum. Chooser.
Yes, Jerry.
Grift?
No.
I'm confused.
Yeah, Eric shouldn't be able to use chat's clues. You're right. I probably shouldn't. We did figure this out last time.
Yeah, but it's kind of impossible because you have to scan them and then your brain has them in there and it's hard to...
All right, I'm counting again. Keep it PG, Mr. Summerer. Yes, I'm working on that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, come on. Keep those clues coming. 5. So we've had...
Chooser, panhandle, and bum.
Chooser, panhandle, bum, and needy.
All of these things are pointing me towards something like homeless, but that doesn't... Like, chooser is not the first thing that everybody would think of if that were the word. So there's something I'm missing here. I'm going to say homeless.
No.
Okay. Needy.
Asker. A-S-K-E-R.
Why can't I think of whatever this word is? Oh.
Oh, Kirk, that's the word I was thinking of. Kirk just thought of the word I was thinking of.
Panhandle.
How many points are we down to now?
I don't even know. I still have no clue. Swindler.
Nope. All right. I'm going to go from Kirk's really good clue. 1, 2, 3. Yes, Gator Dave.
Is this one of those ones where I'm going to like smack
4,
myself in the head when we get to it?
5. Street corner. All one word.
Hustler? Don't know. Like there's a word that exists that's common that my brain is not thinking of, and I'm certain of it. Like I don't.
Oh boy, I want to use Kirk's word, but now Chad is calling me on it, and I really shouldn't, because Kirk thought of the word I couldn't think of.
I'm sure Chad is screaming at me right now. Like, what is wrong with you, Crystal? It's a very common word.
Alms?
You say alms for the poor. Bum, needy. I'll say poor.
No.
Oh!
All right, going from JoJo's. 1, 2, 3.
Everything is pointing toward a certain thing, but I can't.
4.
Charity, donation, like,
Oh, 5. Can't.
Can't?
Can't. CAN apostrophe T.
Ugh. I don't know. I honestly, I just, all the words coming to mind are dirty at the moment because of like the whole street corner business. I don't, I have no guess. Honest to God, I think we should call it. I don't have anything.
All right, I think we get one more clue
One
each.
more?
This is going to be for 2 points if I manage to get you to get it.
Okay.
Pauper.
All of these things relate to one another, and I can't figure out what the missing piece is. Why? Oh my gosh. Busker?
No.
I'm pulling words out of my vernacular that apply to some of these things.
Crystal right now fits this very well. Okay. I've got 1. Last chance to get a single point, chat, which you deserve because I did finally take Kyle's clue.
I'm so
2.
sorry, chat. I know this is painful to watch. It seems so obvious, I'm sure, and I just.
3, 4. Oh, here comes a bunch. I can hear all the clicking. All right. Pleader. Pleader. Pleader.
Beggar?
Beggar is correct.
Oh my gosh.
Chat gets another point. So, one convention of password that I realize you might not know is the upward inflection intends the opposite. So when I said chooser.
Oh. I did not know that. So that would explain, because I was trying to piece that together with the other things, and that, I will admit, was throwing me off just a little bit. But that's my bad. It's fine. Okay.
All right. The password is... And chat gets the first go this time, so they can continue to destroy me from a points perspective.
What are you whining about? You want to come say hi to the chat? Come here. Come here, baby. Come here.
Some folks were saying that that using doggos as a clue might have helped because they would beg. All right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Rage is your clue.
Anger.
Anger is not right.
Okay.
Feeding. And yes, I was going to say that before you guys figured it out, chat.
Fuel.
No.
Like adding fuel to the fire, like rage. I don't know. That was a.
All right, going from Texas Rain's clue, continuing to count. So we said, what was the first one? Was rage, and then I had frenzy. No, I didn't. I just ruined it. Chat, you get 9 points.
What? Oh.
I just said the word.
Okay. We don't have to give chat 9 points for that. We can't. You can just pick a new word. We were barely started.
I could, but it was my own darn fault.
So feeding frenzy. Okay.
It was feeding frenzy. But yes, chat gets.
I will say, for me personally, in games like this, including Just One or whatever, my brain struggles really hard to put 2-word phrases together. My brain wants to go to the definition of a thing. So when I heard feeding, my brain doesn't immediately think what words go on the either side of that. They think, what does the meaning of that have to do with the meaning of the word? So just in case that helps you or the chat going forward, that's the way my brain tends to work in these games.
All right, I get first shot at this one. The password is beam.
Smile.
No. All right, you got 1, 2. I like that clue. 3, 4. Common theme. 5, 6. Light is your clue.
Sun.
Incorrect. But I'm actually writing down. I said beam.
And they said light.
They said light. Narrow.
Ray?
Nope. All right, counting from... Oh, that's a good one. Counting from DJ Dan's clue. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pew. P-E-W.
Laser.
Laser's right. Laser's right, and I thought about pew right away, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna work. So,
pew, 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 pew. Like, Laura, what's her name in Star Wars, who could not help but say pew, pew in her scenes, and if you watch the movie, you can see her mouthing, like, pew, pew, pew in the scene just barely, and it's real cute.
Who was it that did that?
Laura Dern is the name that's coming to mind. Is she the one that... Is that right?
She played like the council representative.
Yeah, the pink curly hair. Is that her? Am I
in one of the more recent films?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's this. If you Google Laura Dern pew pew, you'll find the clips. But yeah, you can see her mouthing because they literally, like, she couldn't not do it while they were filming. It was impossible for her to shoot her gun without making pew pew noises. And I think that's the most adorable story ever.
All right, so we're gonna do one more word, and chat has won. But the goal here is to see if I can get any points at all, just any points. But chat does get to go first. Also, I really liked PMD Reptile said bowcaster, which is a great callback.
Oh, that is a good callback.
All right.
I would have enjoyed if somebody had said sharks Because what do I have to do to get sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads?
There were a lot of sharks clues. That's
Yay!
the one I was
Good job, chat.
reacting to. Anyway,
I probably would not have made that connection because of that, but I'm still happy that y'all did it.
the password is, and chat gets first shot at. Yep, I said it correctly. At this particular clue. And all I have to do is score a point. Just one. Any point. I see 1. I see 2. Was that a clue, Dave? I think Gator Dave was putting a clue in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your clue is create.
Make.
That's incorrect.
Okay.
Electricity.
Spark?
That's incorrect. Chat,
Okay.
I will start with Coralu's clue here. Nick gave my clue. Oh, Gator Dave wasn't giving a clue, just saying that chat was destroying me. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not one word. 5, 6. Hurricane.
Lightning? I don't know why
right.
create would be.
We had
that.
create,
No,
electricity, hurricane. I will say produce.
Create. What was the second one? Create.
Electricity, hurricane.
Electricity. Produce. This is that just one problem where things make sense once you know the thing that connects them, but looking at them all individually, they don't fit together at all. Like electricity, hurricane, power?
No. So going from DJ Dan's clue.
And I am not on my game tonight.
3. For Gator Dave's 4, 5. Okay. Hydroelectric.
Well, I would have definitely said power had I not already said power. Generate.
Chat wins.
It took me a second to get there, but I figured it out. Good
really
job, chat.
good clues coming in from chat, though. Dynamo was one that was very good.
Ooh.
I think I was going to throw out turbine next,
Okay.
which I did see show up. But chat just dominated this particular game. Well done, everybody, with the
Yeah,
clues.
that was awesome, chat.
That
You
was
all
very,
did
very
great.
good. Yeah, there is something to this game that we need to figure out how to let me count. I need to like squint and count and then only look at the clue. That's hard to do.
I mean, technically, we could task one of the mods who's always here to kind of like filter through everything and then post the word that you're supposed to look at. So if you could look for the blue, wrench and only pay attention to what they tell you to say or something, but that feels a little more trouble than it's worth.
Sort of have a team captain sort of approach.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, chat destroyed me. Well done, everybody. And
That was great.
Get schooled every once in a while.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So it's time to talk about some topic stuff.
Yeah. It's a
so-
fun one this week, I think.
Yeah, well, I think this is more of a chat style topic. There's there's not like this isn't really a definitive list sort of thing. We were just sort of talking about what happens, and I was thinking about recently, as I've moved my collection and have put stuff on the board on the shelves, and pulling out some things that maybe I haven't played in a while. And what actually happens when you do that? Say something's on the shelf that hasn't seen table time in a year or two. What happens when you pull it out? And I was thinking along the lines of, an old favorite. Here's something that I've enjoyed, and now I'm bringing it out with somebody new, or after having not played it in a while. But you sort of chimed in and said, well, what about games that you haven't played because you didn't like it the first time? And how do you approach it, from that direction? And I think that's a good idea as well. Maybe we should attack it from those two directions separately. Like,
okay,
let's talk about what gets a game to the table after a while when it's one of your favorites. It just hasn't seen playtime in a while, but it is one that you've really, really enjoyed.
I think, well, and I want to give a disclaimer that kind of applies to this entire discussion, is that I recognize that board games are a luxury hobby and that there is a lot of consumerism involved. And so the fact that we are able to even talk about the fact that some of us have collections so large that we haven't played all of our games recently, like there's some nuance to that discussion, obviously, but I think a lot of hobby gamers do tend to collect more games than an average person would play in a short amount of time. And so for me, sometimes games that I absolutely adore do not hit the table that often. In fact, like my favorite game of all time, Battlestar Galactica, on average, I've tended to play about once a year throughout the course of me owning that game. And that's rough. It's funny, in the past year and a half, I've played it 3 times because I played it at PAX Unplugged in December 2019. I played it on the Dice Tower Cruise in January of 2020. And then I played it online on Vassal with some friends during the pandemic. And so like in the span of like 6 months, I played it 3 times and that was amazing. But for me, coming back to a favorite game, a lot of the time for me, it's a situational thing. It's not that I've necessarily been avoiding a game or not like wanted to bring it to the table, but it's for a game like Battlestar Galactica, it's very situational for me. I need to have the right group in the right player count with the amount of time needed, and I have to be in the right headspace to teach it or have someone else there who can teach it. So there's a lot of factors that go into bigger games like that for me as far as getting them back to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of joked about it at the beginning of the show, but learning or reacquainting yourself with the rules can be a hurdle, even with favorite games. You may have a lot of them internalized, but something as simple as how many cards are dealt in your initial hand it is a little detail that I'm sure I can't remember, even for some of my favorite games.
Right.
How many cards get dealt out at the beginning, how many cards get removed from the deck in a setup or something like that. The setup stuff just isn't something I'm going to internalize, especially if I haven't played something in a year. But if it is a favorite, I do find that the core of the rules tends to stay put, even if it has been a little while. The tricky part comes when it was a complex game that you enjoyed, but it hasn't really ingrained itself as a favorite yet. It's like, I really liked this when I played it a year ago, and now I basically have to start from square one again to pick up those rules.
Oh, I've definitely had moments where I played a game for the first time and loved it, usually being taught by another person. And then I have that moment where I have acquired the game, I bring it to the table, and I realize in that moment that I'm not always equipped to teach it. And I have to do that awkward thing where I want to play this game, I want to teach it to you all, but it's going to be a struggle. And I will sometimes put it away and put it back on the shelf because I don't want to be that person that is reading the rule book out loud to the people at the table. Like, that's not fun for most people, including myself. And so I've had moments like that. And then sometimes those games will end up sitting on the shelf longer than I would like them to, because once I get that idea in my head, like, ooh, I can't teach this, then like I almost get like this weird anxiety or hesitation about it. Like, I like to teach games well, not struggle through the teach. And if I feel like I can't teach a game well, I'm more inclined to just not play it. And sometimes that can be a real bummer.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I really like about bringing something back to the table is sharing it with a new group of people. That's especially, that can often be a motivating factor when, if someone's there and you say, oh, you haven't played X? Well, that's one of my favorite. I should really play that with you. Splendor is one that has hit the table digitally recently after I haven't played it in some time. And I was sort of reminded of how much I really enjoyed that. And getting to a lot of the games on Board Game Arena have been like that, where someone has said, I want to learn this game. I'm like, hey, I'll jump in and play this. I haven't played it in a while. And I can sort of remember, oh yeah, I really like this game. And I know why now. Instead of just having that vague memory of, yeah, I liked that. I remember good times, but remembering suddenly why when you get to have it in front of you again and see that often light up in the people you're playing with. You get to sort of rediscover it through their reaction to the game. That's harder when you do it online, but now that we're able to get together again, it's kind of cool to bring out some old favorites that other people haven't played and see that, oh, this is kind of cool. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's why it's a favorite.
And I have a really similar story, but that actually kind of relates to burnout related to games. So when Codenames first came out and made a pretty big splash, my game group latched onto it really hard because it's a lot of fun. And we played it a lot after it first released, to the point where I bought Codenames and Codenames Pictures as soon as they were available. Both of those games are in this one box. Fun fact, you can fit all of Codenames and Codenames Pictures in a single box. You should just do that if you own them both. But I burned myself out on this game really hard. Like, it's not that I disliked it at that point, but I just had no appetite to play it anymore. And during the pandemic, when CGE released their online Codenames.game tool, I played it again and I was like, I still like this. Of course I do. I never disliked it, but I just didn't want to play it. And given the opportunity and playing it again, I was like, oh yeah, because I've always loved Codenames Duet and I'll play that anytime, but I've kind of reinvigorated my love for the base game again. And it's been fun to rediscover my love of this party game.
So there's also the danger when you bring out something that you haven't played in a while that it's not going to land as well as your memory sort of has it. And this can happen with a different group of people. In addition to seeing the joy in somebody's face when they play one of your favorites, there's always the chance that they go, okay, with one of your favorites. And that can sort of, it can dampen the enthusiasm a little bit. Or you can maybe, after years have gone by and other games have iterated on the concepts of one of your favorites, that suddenly it's not quite as interesting when you bring out one of these. I'm thinking of say, Dominion. I know you're not a big deck building fan, Crystal, but if to go back to Dominion, which I've actually done. Let's finish my thought first. To go back to Dominion after, say, you've been playing a lot of Star Realms, or one of the other deck building games that's more complex and is built upon that idea, to go back to Dominion is sort of a step backward, and could have you going, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't quite so cool. But I've been beta testing the Dominion app that's in beta right now, and remembering how much I liked that game and the simplicity of build your deck, get that engine moving, and this is what I liked about deck building as a concept. So that has worked, but that is also the danger. If you've been playing more complex versions of that game, or ones that have made it more streamlined, easier to understand, easier to get to the table, that you sort of go, it sort of highlights the problems, the blemishes in that favorite design.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've been pretty lucky in that a lot of the games that I've come back to that I liked, I still tend to like. As a kind of weird example, today, a friend of mine on Twitter put that they were putting up all of their Race for the Galaxy stuff for sale if anybody wanted it. And Race for the Galaxy was one of my very first hobby board games when I got into the hobby back in 2007. And interestingly enough, it is still in my collection. I still play it on occasion, but I have never played any of the expansions for Race for the Galaxy. Even though I've been playing that game for 14 years now, I've never touched an expansion. And so when he offered up all of the expansions, basically, I was like, how much for all of the expansions? And so I just bought all the expansions. Who knows when I'll get around to playing all of them. But some of the games that I played early in my gaming career, when I've come back to them, I found they're solid. My buddy that taught me hobby board games did me a solid and taught me some good ones. Like a good example for me is Vegas Showdown. This game does not get any talk or buzz, even when you're talking about like Vegas themed games. This is not the one at the top of anybody's lists. And yes, the components in this game are not great. The paper mats are horrible, whatever, who cares? The game is so much fun. And not because I live in Las Vegas. I lived in Kansas City when I learned this game. I highly recommend this one for people. And like, it still holds up. When I taught it to people on the Dice Tower cruise in the last time it happened in 2020, and they were really surprised by how much fun it was. And not that they didn't trust me, but you know, when you see a game like this, the artwork isn't super great and it's a little bit older, you have doubts, and that's reasonable. But yeah, like sometimes it's really fun to not just rediscover your love of a thing, but yeah, to see that that look on other people's faces when they're like, oh yeah, that is good.
It is somewhat surprising that game has not seen a reprint recently.
I'm honestly surprised. I really enjoy it, and I actually got this copy through one of the silent auctions at Dice Tower Con like 2 or 3 years ago. It was in a stack of a whole bunch of other games, most of which I did not care about at all. But this was in that stack, and so I bid on it. You know, it's for charity because whatever, and I won. So I was very happy to finally get this game into my own collection.
So you brought up expansions just a second ago, and that reminded me of another potential pitfall when bringing something back off the shelf, which often happens because you got the expansion. Like, oh, I just got this expansion. Let's bring the base game off the shelf and let's integrate this thing. And depending on how complicated the expansion is, you might go, oh, wait a minute. I don't think I remember enough about the base game to properly integrate all this new stuff. Or you're playing with a new group of people and they haven't played it, or it's been a long time for them too. And you're like, so this is too complicated now, isn't it? We need to start from the beginning. And I've had to do that with a couple, the Eminent Domain expansion. I was so excited to play it, and I got opponents, and they're like, well, we don't know the base game. I'm like, then I don't think we can do this. We have to start from you knowing the game. And then that was the end of game night. We played the base game, and then we never got to the expansion. So that can get tricky. We need to talk about the other side of the coin, though.
Yeah.
So there are many reasons why a game can fall flat. How much time? There's lots of reasons. It could be the people you're playing with. It could just be you lost and it just didn't go well for you.
You were having a bad day unrelated to gaming.
Totally unrelated. Somebody kept assassinating your insurance adjuster. Anything could have happened. Any reason at all. So how much time needs to pass before you're willing to give it another go?
I mean, well, again, caveat here. I think a lot of people would be like, why would you ever go back to a game that you didn't like when there are so many board games? But I think there are situations in which that makes sense. And that could be your friends at a convention are sitting down to play X game, and you want to play with them, but maybe that game you tried it once and it wasn't your fave. Or that game is your new friend's favorite game and they really want to play it. Like, there's a game that some friends taught me 2 or 3 years ago, Black Fleet, which I hated. Like, I really disliked Black Fleet. It's not a bad game. It's just not the game for me. But, like, I'm trying to think, would I be willing to play it again? And at this point, I say no. But if three people, if like you and a couple other people that I really like really wanted to play it, I probably would sit down and play it. So for me, I don't know that it's necessarily time that's the factor. I think it has to be situational for me as well. It has to be, I'm in the right mindset, it's with the right people, and whatever caused me to dislike it originally, I've either figured out what it is or I've recognized what it is, and just like I can acknowledge that and be ready for it. Like in Black Fleet, I want to say it was because there was a lot of take that and people kept stealing the goods off of my boat, and so I could just do nothing. And so if I recognize going in like this could go horribly wrong, maybe I would be better equipped. What about for you? Is it more time-based for you?
I mean, I think I agree that it's rare that I'm going to seek out a game that I had a bad experience with. But if someone offers, there's still going to be that time that I am in a situation where someone says, hey, want to play Citadels? And I'm probably going to say yes. You know, I need to try it again, but darn it, I am not going to seek that out. I'm not going to put myself in that situation on purpose when I've got all these other options. But if somebody
that has Jack Vassal Memorial Fund auction written all over
really
it, I'm
does.
just saying.
I'm amazed it hasn't come up already. But, you know, if it is someone's favorite, then maybe playing it with that group of people is what's going to be the spark. I've had this happen with Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is some people's favorite game, or has been in the past, but I played it with my regular game group, which tends to be a more analytical Eurogame group, and it just fell flat. We felt it was very random, we felt it just had no agency, it just didn't work, because we weren't doing the wheeling and the dealing and the crazy swings of, I'm allying with you and you're allying with that one and which side are you picking, and the whole, we just weren't doing it. People weren't spending cards. It's like, why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. But then playing it at a convention with people who really liked it, it was so much more interesting. And suddenly it just sort of came to life. And I'm like, yeah, it's still not a game that I am wanting to play with any sort of frequency, but I totally understand its appeal now, which I didn't after that first initial play with the standard game group.
Absolutely. I think it is important for people to remember that, like, you can definitely like or dislike a game, and that is, we all do, like, that's very common, but because board games are a social interaction, sometimes your like or dislike of a game does not have to tint the experience of playing it if the situation is right. I have enjoyed games that I didn't like the game of. I've enjoyed playing a game that I didn't like. And on the converse side of that, I've disliked plays of games that I love because the situation wasn't right, or the players weren't right, or whatever, my mood wasn't right. There's a lot of reasons why. And so it's almost become a running joke for me at this point, but I was taught Concordia at MeepleCon years and years ago. And MeepleCon is the convention that turned into Dice Tower West. And the person who taught it to me is a local Las Vegas gamer who I have since come to realize he and I's play styles don't mesh. We just don't. Yep. He's not a bad person, but like the way he teaches games and the way he plays games does not work for me. And he taught the game in a way that wasn't ideal for me. And as a result, my experience was pretty awful, truthfully. I very rarely want to get up from a table and leave mid-game, and I wanted to when I was playing Concordia. But I know that Concordia is a Euro game that a lot of gamers really love. And so over the years, I've joked that I should play it again at some point, and I still haven't. It's been a long time. It's probably been 5 or 6 years, if I had to guess, since I played it, at least. And yeah, one of these days, and like you all know, dry Euros are not always my jam, but I've really started enjoying some of them more in recent past. So I think Concordia is one that I should give another shot to. And I think time has helped with that. Like, and again, as I've grown as a gamer, I can recognize what that experience was for what it was. And I can separate the game from the experience, even if I don't necessarily remember the mechanics of the game at this point. Like, I know that my experience with the game was not necessarily based on the game itself. And so if a person was like, hey, Concordia is my favorite game and I really want to play it with you, at this point, I'd say yes. So.
Yeah. Occasionally, when you do give a game a second chance, and because it's been so long, you have to go through the rules again, you realize that you didn't understand the rules the first time.
Oh, there was one rule I got wrong in Kingdom Builder for a very long time, and I taught so many people that game with that one rule wrong. Admittedly, it was a rule that got applied equally to all of the players, so it's not like it was a huge deal. But still, like, yeah, at one point I played it finally with somebody who had played it before, and they were like, that doesn't work like that. And I was like, wait, what? And I taught it to so many people wrong. But we had good experiences with it, so...
So I guess the moral of the story is, give a game a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe walk away for a little bit, but be willing to come back, because you may still enjoy it. Yep.
There are always new games to try, and some of us, pointing to myself very strongly here, really like the experience of learning and trying new games. But occasionally it is fun to go back to an old favorite or something that you want to give a second chance to.
It is, for sure. And it's a nice thing when, if you're taking a break from purchasing new games or aren't able to go to a convention and have to go with what you've got on the shelf, it's sort of good to go back a little bit and revisit some of that stuff, which I've been trying to do with the kids, but they don't really care about. Oh, yes, they're suggesting that I'm going to talk about Tom and his misunderstanding of the rules to No Thanks. Why would I do that? Would I be that mean? So yeah, folks, Tom was playing No Thanks incorrectly for years.
And teaching lots of people.
We fixed it. It's all fixed now.
Here's a fun fact that most people probably don't know. Ambi also was playing No Thanks wrong the same way Tom was, and did not learn about it until Tom talked about it on the podcast. And then Ambi was like, wait, what? So same thing, which I think is really funny. And I will say I'm the first person to get rules wrong. If you've ever been taught a game by me, chances are you should probably read that rule book after the fact and figure out what I screwed up.
Yes. Coralu says, your tastes change over time. I think a few folks have been saying that in the chat as well. So you may have had a terrible experience at one point, but if it's been a few years, you may have a different perspective entirely when you try something again.
That is a really good point.
So I guess we've got we're already a little past the top of the hour, but we could always answer a couple of questions while folks are typing those in. If you have anything you wanted to talk to Crystal or myself about, we should talk about the schedule for the next few weeks here on Dice Tower Tonight. So in 2 weeks, it is the Dice Tower's Summer Spectacular, which is a full week of a lot of scheduled live content, a lot of live plays and shows. We're doing the Dice Tower Awards as part of that presentation. And I will be down in Florida for that, which I'm very excited about. It's going to be my first time on a plane in forever. But getting to see the Florida studios and getting to see the Dice Tower crew in person is very exciting. So I will be a part of that during the day, but it means that we're going to be totally wiped out by the time the evening comes around. So episode 99 of this very program, Dice Tower Tonight, will be in 3 weeks. We're going to delay that just 1 extra week. And I'm sure I'll have lots of stuff to talk about as part of the Summer Spectacular. We're going to be playing a bunch of games, both on and off camera. So I'm sure I'm going to have a lot to discuss in that next episode. And then we're just going to get right back on track. And in 1 more week after that, have our episode 100. And Crystal was telling me about something she has in the works. She's going to try and figure out for episode 100. I'm already excited about it. We're going to try and bring back some games that we played with the chat. And just sort of do a game of Palooza. That will be our topic, is playing games with
We're
everyone
just going to
in
play
the chat.
games for the whole episode.
Yeah.
And again, if you all have any games that we've played here on the show that you particularly like or that you definitely want to see, please make sure you reach out to us. You can email us, crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com, or you can tweet at us, whatever. But also make sure that you are following posts in the Dice Towers Board Game Geek Guild, or that you're part of the Dice Tower Facebook group, because we will likely or almost definitely be crowdsourcing some stuff for those games, and so we're going to need your all's input. So make sure you keep an eye out in the upcoming weeks for posts in those places. We're going to get input from people in advance of the show, and there's going to be a lot of audience participation during the show as well. So we're hoping to involve as many fans of the show as we can. And I'm just so excited to celebrate episode 100 with all of you.
It'll be very cool. You know, I was considering giving a tour of the game room, but not a whole lot has changed. So I don't know if that's worth. I could take a camera around and show a video clip or pictures or something.
Well,
Maybe.
A couple people were asking for a chair update.
So I went to the furniture store. So that we've sort of settled on dining room style chairs. I think that's where we were 2 weeks ago. We had discussed the height adjustment aspect, and while I appreciate those points, we wanted something that was going to look a little more solid than like office chairs all lined up in the game room. So we're looking at upholstered, comfortable dining room chairs. So I had some extra time. My kids had a play date. And I went to the furniture store, and I just walked in and sat in all the dining room chairs. And the salesperson's like, can I help you with something? No. I had actually looked up some models online, and I knew I'm looking for the elegant. Where's the elegant? Okay, and the lily? Where's the lily? And I just was wandering around the store and sitting in like 5 or 6 different chairs. But I haven't found anything yet, and there's still time. The table's not here yet. But I'm looking for a nice, comfortable, cushioned, upholstered dining room chair set, because I have to get 10 of them, and I don't want to be spending multiple hundreds of dollars on each chair. That's not going to be good.
Too much. Kabuki Kid, thank you so much for saying that in the chat. Kabuki Kid did post a reminder that if you have enjoyed the show tonight and you want to click that thumbs up button below the video, we appreciate it. And a whole bunch of people already did that. So thank you all for doing that. We really, really appreciate it. All right, let's see. Other questions. So a lot of people were asking what the rule was in No Thanks that Tom was getting wrong. Yep. Do you remember? Because I don't.
I do. So in No Thanks, if you are forced to take a card or you choose to take a card, you get all of the chips that are on that card. And then you are facing the next card in the deck.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if I hopefully have just taken some chips, and now I have at least one to spend on the next card to avoid taking that one as well. But I have to make that decision. It's my card. And Tom was playing it that it went around the table. So if I took the card, Crystal would then face the next card. And he did this, and I'm like, no. I have to face the next card too. And that's the issue. And yes, I saw that question as well. The sausage is in fact wearing the bunny hat.
The sausage looks real nice in that bunny hat, I do have to say.
My employee hit the office for the first time in a while, and so the sausage now has its supervisory role back up and running as the supervisor.
Perfect. So yes, just to reiterate, Kabuki Kid pointed out we didn't mention the date. Our next episode of the show will be on July 14th, so that is 3 weeks from tonight. And then episode 100 will be July 21st. So that is 4 weeks from right now. But there will only be that 1 week gap between our next 2 episodes. And so we just want to make sure people are aware of that.
And watch the Summer Spectacular. Well, when you would normally be watching us, you can watch some of those replays and stuff.
I'll be doing some traveling that week as well. I'm actually getting on a plane for the first time. Also, I'm going to be going back to Missouri to visit my family, most of which I haven't seen since Thanksgiving of 2019. So I'm really excited, especially to see my nephews, because they're a lot bigger than the last time I saw them.
Very cool. Well, I think that's probably time to wrap up.
Sounds pretty good. So yes, chat, thank you again for hitting that thumbs up button below the video. And thank you for joining us and being just the most wonderful live chat a pair of humans could ask for. We will see you again in 3 weeks on July 14th for episode 99. But until then, I'm Crystal Dax.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 3 weeks for episode 99. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Kennedy, Chris Yee, and Rob Searing. The synthetic velvet fabric required to gain access to the forge that made Thor's hammer brought to you by Nida Velour. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by GameNerds.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek, on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
gaming.
So
Bye,
long,
everyone.
everybody.